everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to each other's soulmates. We are back for season 1, episode 6. And that means we are about to be halfway through season 1. It's crazy. It's crazy how we did this so fast. It feels like it just flew by. But here we are. The title of today's episode is Secret Sex. So we're super excited, again, halfway through. Thank you guys again, as always, so much for all the support. Super surreal, super awesome. We're ready to finish out this season and then keep going. So with that, let's just get into the episode. Let's just get right into it today. It's just exciting. I think we're both just excited for this. So you want to get into it, Christina? Let's go.
Okay, so first scene up in the episode 6, season 1, Secret Sex, is Carrie's photo shoot. So this is the photo shoot that leads to the photo that you see in the opening scene, where she gets flashed by the water on the bus. That photograph, this is her doing that photo shoot. And this is a very iconic dress. It's just really cool. It's cream colored. It's very close to the color of her skin, and the sheets that she's on in this bed are like close to the color as well. It's just very aesthetically.
It's like gives the illusion of sheer, but not really. It's very what they deem in the next conversation.
Yeah.
So
and this dress,
there's a perfect word for it.
In the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Carrie getting ready at her apartment with the girls for her first date with Mr. Big. So like she's like kind of been
official
stuff, yeah, but this is like the first official date. So she walks out and she's wearing the dress from the photo shoot. And everybody has a different opinion on this dress. Samantha, of course, girls, she says it's fabulous. Miranda I love what she says. She's like, it's tits on toast, but you make it
tits on toast. I love that. I love that saying.
Yeah, it's really cute. Well, I think it's cute. And then you get Charlotte, who is, she cuts the
just automatically. Yeah. Oh, well, you're obviously sleeping with him, right? Like, bitch. So what if I did?
And we get Miranda being like, she's not having sex. She's just gonna look like sex.
And I love that
line too.
How amazing would it be to embody that though? Yeah. Like you look like sex tonight.
And
that's probably the best compliment anyone can ever get.
That's true. And here we get the name for the dress, the iconic naked dress. And
the naked dress.
I'm sure we've all had that one dress that like does that for us. Like we embody sexuality when we put that outfit on. And in her case, it was this dress and she looked freaking awesome.
Maybe it's like the equivalent to like a little black dress too. So, like it gives you that sense of like sexy and like, but like a little bit more nude.
Yeah.
So, but like, it's like iconic. It's the statement.
Yeah.
Huh?
Like a little bit more naked.
Of course. Yeah. So, yeah, beautiful dress.
And then, so this dress brings up a conversation, which is the idea of the rules. So Charlotte brings this up and she's saying like as part of the rules, if you sleep with a person on the first date, you're not serious about them. Everybody has an
interesting
opinion on that for sure. But I don't believe it at all.
No,
I think
I agree.
Like, but what do you think? Like, do you think sex on a first?
I agree.
Like,
I think some people may have a preconceived idea to that too, because obviously, like we're talking, this was a conversation, 20, 30 years ago. It obviously was a thought. I think that especially nowadays that it's gone away, that kind of stigma of like sleeping with someone, or even like one night stands too. But I don't think it's essentially like a means for ruin for like a solid like relationship. I think that you can have sex on the first date and have a solid relationship and or marriage. Who knows what the hell it's going to lead up to.
Yeah.
Do I think with certain dynamics, doing that ruins it? Maybe, because maybe someone's intention on the other side was just sex and like that's it. Like, I never want to see you again. It was like one kind of score thing. And like someone else on the other side was like, ooh, I was hoping this was gonna be like more than that, you know?
That's
So
true. But
you don't know unless it's a conversation too,
yeah,
if you do openly talk about it. I think a lot of people are really scared to talk about sex when they start dating, like up front too. um I think it should always be a conversation, especially when it comes to like consent and what you're comfortable with. I think that's really important, and I think it would take a lot of ease of like the anxiety of like everything involved with that, you know, so you're a little more comfortable,
yeah,
and maybe your understanding of how you feel about, hey, if we do hook up, it, you know, is it going to just be that kind of deal? So
I can see that. I feel like kind of like going off of what you're saying, it's kind of like it almost brings out issues that were bound to come up later, like the
yeah,
quality of
yeah,
like how each person felt. And then also bouncing off of what you said too, I have a couple of friends that I go way back with, and they hooked up on their first date, and their wedding was so beautiful that everybody in the room was sobbing, even the
goals,
Presley impersonator. Like it was just a freaking awesome Vegas wedding, and
goals,
it was
goals,
so
goals.
cool, you know, like just so cool. But yeah, if your wedding is just so beautiful that you left everybody in tears, like, and you've been together for all these years, it just
Point
they're like,
proved,
yeah,
you
they're
know.
an example that that rule doesn't actually exist, or maybe they were the exception. Who knows? Um,
Exactly.
like if y'all,
Everything's so circumstantial. So
yeah,
it's a level of comfortability, it's a level of conversation, communication between both parties or multiple parties. We don't know who all's involved here, but
yeah,
you know, just dropping that in there. You never know. But yeah, I think with anything, like it has to be a conversation at some point. So
yeah, and then oh, and then we talk about in the rules also, you know, you're supposed to keep him in a holding pattern. If you like a guy, you have to keep him in a holding pattern um, for at least 5 dates. And that's from, you know, Miss Charlotte and her rules. And then we have Samantha coming back at her with a reality check, which is a guy can just as easily dump you if you fuck him on the first date as he can if you wait until the 10th date.
that is literally so true. It's so true. Like I do resonate with Charlotte a little bit. I personally prefer to not have sex like right off the bat. If it happens and that's great. But if it's more of like, I don't know, like an emotional bond, I feel like it is better to like talk and get to know someone first before. I feel like for women, like especially, I do think having more of an emotional bond helps. I think it makes you I think it makes us feel a little bit more comfortable, or maybe some, not all women feel that way. I do, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm like, I've been able to talk to you a little, like I'm a little, my guard's down a little bit too. But then let's be real. Let's say if someone's spicy enough, all that can go out the fucking window. If you meet someone and you click, you're like, game on.
In clicking, you were also referring to like chemistry as well as like
Yeah.
being safe with that person to be able to do
Yeah.
it. Right? I
Exactly.
feel like that is like the key component to it. Like you
Yeah.
know, the that spark and you have that feeling of safety. I feel like that's like okay, game on. Like whenever,
Yeah.
but you know, it
Yeah.
depends on the person, right?
Very true.
Um, and in this moment, you know, that when Samantha mentions the 10th date, I just want to add like Miranda makes this little comment to her where it's like, when have you ever been on a 10th date?
To
And
Samantha?
just, yeah, to Samantha. And honestly, like, fuck this behavior. Don't be that friend. Like,
Yeah.
why does she have to tear her down right there? There was no reason.
I and like we've
And
said this
it's like,
before.
like, I just
Yeah,
felt,
it's a theme. It with the girls, like they pick on Samantha quite a bit with when
yeah,
it comes to her sexuality, um and I think, you know, obviously though, friend groups poke fun at each other
Yeah.
quite a bit. I feel like that's normal to tease, you know, your friend group about things, but when it comes from a sense of like being judgmental, it's different than it's like, oh hey, remember that one time you got fucked up at Chili's? Yeah, instead of like,
Yeah.
oh, when have you ever been on a 10th date, you fucking slut? Like that's
Yeah.
what it comes off
That's,
as. You know, it's a different kind of tease. It's because there's judgment behind it. And it happens a lot. I don't know why the writing calls for that. I think maybe it's to see the duality of them. I don't know.
I just
But
also
Amanda's
like,
normally never she's never phased by it. So, which is
yeah.
nice.
Yeah. It's also pretty reflective of what people generally thought of women like Samantha for the time,
Yeah, correct.
fortunately. But then back to the scene. You know, we kind of get posed with this question, uh, like, do you think true love can exist without good sex?
For
Can
me
love
personally,
exist without no? Uh,
no. For
yeah,
that's me though.
and
I
that's
know people
yeah,
100% that don't need sex at all to
like
be like
people
a
in
happy
my
partnership.
community, like
Yeah,
for example, you know, and that's a valid form of love, and they don't, and so I guess yeah, like it can exist in that. Maybe not for
I
everyone,
think
but there are people who it can work for.
again, kind
Uh,
of the theme with this entire episode too is like it's case by case. Everyone's going
yeah,
to be different, you know, and
yeah,
everyone's going to interact differently
yeah,
with other people. So,
yeah. And oh, and then Samantha ends it with, and yet you can have good sex with someone you don't like or respect or even remember, which is
very true, Miss Samantha Jones. Very true.
so. End of that conversation about the dress. We now switch over to Carrie and Mr. Big's first date. And so let me just paint this scene real quick. I love this outfit of Carrie's. She walks out in like, I think it's like nude heels and then
Yep.
a naked dress and then a fur coat. Like, iconic. Hair is
Chef's kiss.
big and out in the wind. I love it.
We love a fur coat.
And then, that's how she comes out. Oh, I almost missed this. So, um, she kind of does one of those little like talking straight to the camera moments as she's going down the steps. And I always thought this was an interesting quote. Truth is, I was dying to sleep with him. But isn't delayed gratification the definition of maturity?
That line did stick out to me when I
Yeah.
heard it again. I was like, what an interesting perspective. It's almost like saying I now have impulse control. I think it's more so like, oh, like younger people or teenagers, whatever, give into things so easily because there's not a sense of control there. Like your brain's not fully developed at that point, you know, so it's easier to just slip into things. I think that's maybe what she's referring to. Like you have to hold off for things like to not give into your like intense urges or primal desires shows like a sign of maturity. Or it could just be like, fuck it.
Yeah,
Like, you know, like,
exactly. It's
I love this. I love that, like, she's already kind of tense about it. And it's like the scene, like, this scene has a lot of tension in the beginning. And they do a good job at recreating what that kind of feels like. So,
yeah. Cause like she gets in the car, or I'm sorry, she gets into is it a limo or a car? I don't remember.
they're in Big's car, I
Yeah,
think.
okay, car with his
He
driver.
has a town car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Like,
and with the driver in the front, and so they're together in the back seat, and just you could cut the tension with a knife. It
you really could. They're just like super, super like body language wise. Like
yeah,
there's things going, there's words being said
on
that
the
aren't being
windows,
spoken. I really like when I think what's really cool about this scene is like they're trying really hard to not make eye contact, but I think that's the coolest thing with tension is because that's normal body language, right? We try and avoid, we avoid, we avoid, but the second you like really look at them, you're like, oh, fucking bets are off, bitch. Let's go.
And
And that's basically what
yeah,
happened.
what happened, because they end up back at his apartment instead of going out to dinner. And they're not on the bed, they're next to the bed on the floor. You just like see a foot kind of like, and then the pans into them on the floor
Love that.
holding one another post sex, wrapped up in the
Post coitus.
post.
I love that word.
And then I thought this part was cute. She's like, I'm not gonna talk first, and I won't do it, but then she does it. And she's like kind of pillow talking him, and she's just very like on cloud nine, just like, oh my god. And he just looks uncomfortable. Granted, he's like probably in his early 40s and he's on a wooden floor.
Yeah.
But like that
I just think
that they had beforehand doesn't seem to be as mutual anymore.
because I think that Big is like, that was just sex. Carrie's mind is probably like, that was amazing. Oh my God, we finally, like, this is something, we did it, this is great. And Big is like, I just got off, thanks.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. I didn't think of that, but I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cute though, because he like rolls over and he looks at her, he's like, are you hungry? And they look at each other and then they go off to yeah, like yeah. And they never actually had dinner, so like now they are, and they go to
this. They definitely worked up an appetite.
Yeah. And they go to Feng Hua. And as they're kind of like coming into the restaurant and walking in, she's having her inner monologue asking like, was this like, was he really hungry, or was this a diversion to get me not to spend the night?
What an interesting thought, because honestly, I don't want to fucking spend the night at some dude's apartment that's me though. Like, I don't feel the need to like stay with you. I can't, like, we could have done our thing and like I could go home.
But it's kind of like, you're saying, like, she kind of seems to have this like bubbling and building feeling
that it's something more than what it is. Bigger than what it is. No pun intended.
We're hanging out. Like, I feel like it's just a little bit more casual from his end.
Yeah.
But they're gonna go sit down and stuff, and she runs into her old friend Mike, and she like walks like away from Mr. Big and goes to Mike's table. And she starts like, oh hey, like, how's it going? Like, don't look over there, I'll tell you about it later. Like, and she kind of like pauses because Mike's there with a date, and Carrie's talking to Mike, and his date is just kind of sitting there looking at them, and Mike is like specifically like not acknowledging
his date
at the table with him to his friend Carrie.
Yeah.
And Carrie's just kind of like for a moment, but she introduces herself to her.
Right.
And
not to be, weird.
And we get to meet Libby.
Libby.
Oh my!
I really do love Libby. Let's get into Libby, so.
He's good people. But as Libby is introducing herself, she's even saying it's so nice to finally meet a friend of his. He cuts her off and is like, okay, see you later.
Yeah. Ouchie.
Ouch. Yeah. And so
big ouch.
That's the end of that scene at Feng Hua. Carrie goes back to her date, and then that's where we leave them off. Next scene pans over to Miranda at the gym, and it looks like she looks like she's doing like kickboxing, right?
Yeah, it's a kickboxing class.
Okay, yeah. And she throws a kick out. She accidentally hits this guy in the face. He knocks out, and they end up hitting it off because of it. One of those things, like, you never know. And they're walking home together, and I thought this part was cool. She's like, his name was Ted. he was a doctor, and his apartment overlooked the Natural History Museum, and he was never married before. Like,
Yeah.
perfect on
Like,
paper, dude.
perfect on paper guy.
Yeah. And Miranda and Carrie go to they pan over to the next scene of Miranda and Carrie at the park, and it's Miranda the next day talking to Carrie about what had happened. And she's kind of like suspicious of this guy, like almost like this is a little too good to be true. And so she's like, kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like with this guy. And Carrie's just like, at least you didn't sleep with him on the first date. Always Carrie throwing it back to herself.
Yeah, always.
And she just blames the fact that she slept with Mr. Big on the first date on the
On
dress.
the dress.
She doesn't
It
blame
was the
herself.
dress.
It was
It was the dress.
dress, dress. And
Yeah, totally. It wasn't the fucking tension of the two of you being like little teenagers in the back of a car in the parking lot of your fucking high school. I don't know.
exactly. Exactly. And oh, and then Carrie mentions to Miranda, like, oh, I also saw Mike at the restaurant afterwards. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
and he was on a date, but it was like he didn't want me to meet her. And
Yeah.
we flip over to the next scene, and Carrie is meeting up with Mike, just kind of like how they mentioned that they were gonna do. And they go to Bed
Mm-hmm.
Bath and Beyond to look for
I didn't realize that's where they went.
yeah. So they're just like running errands together, like like buddies do sometimes. And he tells her about how he met Libby. Like he opens up about that relationship
Mm-hmm.
with her. She asks him a lot of questions, and he kind of like dodges it for a while, just giving like one word answers.
Right.
Then he finally like breaks down with her and is like, she's like, oh, like he acknowledges that he is seeing her, um, but Carrie's like pressing like why are you not public? Like
Right.
why is it such a
What's
secret?
going on?
And
I
he
also think
finally,
there's a slight bit of projection there though too with it, you
yeah,
know,
no, yeah, she definitely is using their relationship to try to understand her relationship, which is very
with Big, the
unhealthy.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
it's very unhealthy because two
Because Carrie
people,
can't validate herself to save her fucking life.
you know.
We come to find out.
He finally breaks down and is like, she's smart, she's incredibly sweet, the sex is great, but she's not the one that he sees himself with. That hurt my
Which is so
ear.
fucking bizarre. And it's
Yeah,
only because of the way she looks.
yeah,
That's what's the craziest part. He's like, this woman is literally perfect, but that's just not who I see myself with. And it's because she's not probably like the typical standard of beauty, I guess, or maybe just not his type. But it's like, he's like, she's amazing, smart, funny, perfect, and the sex is amazing. Like, what more could you fucking want, dude?
literally even
But like,
says that it was the best sex of his life.
yeah, and you're gonna throw that away?
Yeah, because he was like talking about how they were getting together and stuff, and they pan over the scene of them having sex for the first time, and he talks up, or they talk about how because she wasn't that gorgeous, he wasn't nervous, so he was able to truly relax in the sex that he was having, and that's probably why it was the best sex he'd ever had. He probably never really like that with
Because
his guard.
his guard was more down.
Yeah, and it was like they were there together and like cuddling and like sharing each other's
That's so
dreams.
it's so
Stuff
crazy to me though too,
didn't matter.
because like I get nervous having sex with anyone, like, regardless if you look like my dream man or like someone who's like, I'm like not essentially my type, but I just meet you and like, hey, game on. Like, I'm still nervous.
Yeah,
Like, there's still a sense of performance anxiety that, like,
well,
it's weird.
it is. Granted, like I kind of glazed over this part, but the way that they met, he was very soon after a breakup. with a woman
Yeah.
very beautiful and very successful. He even said
Mm.
he was a cellist for the like this New York
The
Phil,
Philharmonic.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is like a huge deal. Um,
Yeah.
and so extremely beautiful, extremely successful, and they loved to cook together. So while he was grocery shopping, when he was particularly vulnerable, that's when he met Libby.
Hmm.
And she laid it on thick. She was like,
She was giving him cheese samples.
she was giving him cheese samples, and it was so cute. She's like, this is a triple cream from France. Like, she's
So sweet.
so sweet. Um,
And she's a beautiful woman. This was what I remember watching this and being like, what do you mean? Like, this was a beautiful woman. I'm
you
like, what
know,
the fuck
it
is
rem-
wrong with you?
it reminds me of like how, like all of these like women back then, like oh my goodness, what's that actress from the Titanic? Um, the main Kate when
Kate Winslet?
Yeah, she was considered fat back then. Like all of these women who actually aren't fat,
Yeah.
considered fat. Like if you
That was
size 4 or
crazy.
below,
Like Renee Zellweger in
yeah,
Bridget Jones' Diary. They're like,
yeah,
this is the fattest bitch in the world, and you're like,
yeah.
what?
So,
Jessica Simpson's picture back in the day of her in the fucking jeans and the
hmm,
black tank top, that iconic picture. Looking back at that is asinine.
yeah,
For that to be considered anywhere even near like plus size is
it
crazy.
really is. I'm very thankful with how
We talked about this
that
before, like
kind of evolved.
the whole crazy.
It is.
And it's just sad because I guess that's what it was. She wasn't she was
Didn't
absolutely
have,
stunning, but she just wasn't like a fucking stick.
yeah, that too. And she just didn't have the look. And even though they connected emotionally, they had great, amazing sex, and there was chemistry, all of that. Like, so she was good to him. It didn't matter. She was
Yeah.
not the person that he saw himself with, and that was that.
And that's fine too. It's just like,
Yeah,
don't string someone along then.
yeah.
If if you
Don't,
know that they're not it, tell
yeah,
them.
and don't
End it.
date them in secret. That's ugly.
That is really ugly.
Like, that like hurt.
That's basically like, I'm ashamed to be with you kind of thing. Like, and that's fucked up.
It hurts, dude. That shit hurt.
Yeah, I think you and I both have experienced a level of that, and it's not fun. It's very demeaning. Um and it makes you question yourself, and
Yeah,
obviously you're not supposed to do that in those scenarios, but you can't help it.
we would
You're like,
have,
why?
like, that's natural. Like, and actually, like, no matter what age, like, those are confusing feelings to deal with.
For anyone,
For
this happened to me three years ago. I was literally told, no, we can't go out to eat together because people are going to think you were boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm sorry, you can do all these other things to me, but you can't have fucking dinner with me at an Olive Garden? Fuck out of here.
I want to have Olive Garden soon. I need some breadsticks.
We should go to
Let's go to
you
Olive
and I need to go to Olive
Garden.
Garden
Let's go to
together.
Olive Garden. Shout out to Olive Garden. And breadsticks. Um, so we go back to the scene, and we pan over, and it's Carrie in her column, and she's like, talking about this because she's asking like, how many of us are having great sex with people that we're ashamed to introduce to our friends? Um, so she's in her apartment, like talking about this with Samantha, and Samantha starts listing off all these embarrassing stories that she had. And she goes like one by one, and it's like, did I ever tell you about this one? Or how about this one? And Carrie's like, yeah, and like finishes like the punchline and stuff. And she's like, well, that just proves it. I've never had sex with somebody I was ashamed of. Or like she's just open about it. Like she doesn't have
Yeah.
sex, which is really cool. And then Carrie receives a copy of the ad, so they unravel
Mhm.
this like poster to look at the ad that got decided for the side of the bus, and she kind of has this moment of like, oh gosh, is that like, am I too naked? Like, should I be embarrassed of this? Like, is this too much?
Oh, it's just
Exactly. And that's what Samantha says. She's like, there's no such thing as like bad publicity.
and she's like, "Well, you're a publicist."
Which, yeah. Like, and you kind of have that, like,
But
yeah. I feel like you kind of have a similar mindset to that.
I feel the same way. I honestly think like bad press is what's that saying? They're like any press
It's
is
good.
good press or whatever.
It,
Yeah, because I think the coolest part about having something bad or like having a bad publicity stunt is the way you make up for it is like what either that the way you make up for it is what sets the incident. So, like biggest thing of all time, just side note, let's Kim Kardashian sex tape, right? Let's be real. That woman fucked her dude and it leaked. And now she has like her whole family are like fucking celebrities. I mean, like the one thing she did that was essentially bad or wrong or terrible is now like a fucking empire.
and
And it was the way you,
do you remember the
huh?
movement and the trend it right after she did that where all the celebrities had sex tapes?
I'm sure.
That was
I'm sure.
like a trend right after. It was like, or like during. It was like,
Well, because they saw, right, because they saw what happened, you know? But think of it but that's what I think of in examples of like, hey, even if it's bad, look at what you can fucking do to turn shit around.
yeah.
Mama Kris Jenner knew what to do. What is that saying they say? The devil works hard, but Kris Jenner works harder.
I could see that.
Love that. I'm obsessed with that woman. I need the drive of Kris Jenner. Anyway, talking about publicity and shit. Let's get back into it.
So Samantha asks Carrie if she's ever heard about Charlotte's rabbi.
I love this scene.
So they run over to Charlotte's work, like, and she gets mad at them. She's like, "Why are you questioning me about this at work?" Because she's so private about stuff like that. It was cute. Um, and she was like, "Well, he wasn't a rabbi. He was a Hasidic folk artist from Brooklyn." And Charlotte, so back to the first episode, we were introduced to Charlotte. She is a museum curator, like director.
Yeah.
She's art. Uh, she is an art expert, and so she finds herself going to people's houses sometimes to go look at their studios and stuff, like
or purchase, or
this is a part of her job, like a normal part of her job.
Yes.
But she goes to this particular Hasidic folk artist from Brooklyn, and this tension is in the air. He's there smoking a cigar, and she's looking around at his art, and
he's a big dude. This is like what I really love about this. Like Charlotte's a very small, tiny, petite woman. We're talking like lumberjack style, like big dude, and he's a Hasidic Jew, like in the whole, what they wear, and he's just like, oh, it's a fun little dynamic to see between the two of them. And there's tension building in this scene between the two of them.
She says she's looking around his art and the sexual tension builds. She says she was mesmerized by his talent, his strangeness, and even his smell. If somebody's smell is drawing you in, that's like
game on.
Yeah.
Because that's our body's natural way of saying that, hey, it's actually the way of us saying that they're safe to procreate with. That's why pheromones work with such, like, if you're turned off by someone's smell, it usually means like, hey, don't have a baby with this one. Maybe try another one.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's kind of how pheromones work. So if you're smelling someone and you're like, this is game on, and like it's natural scent. I'm not talking about no Axe fucking body spray. I'm talking about someone's natural. What? I'm just saying.
Axe in forever.
It smells so fucking good though. Like, let's be real. Like, you spray that shit on, I'm like, where?
Oh my god.
I will take Axe over any stupid fucking Dior Sauvage or whatever the fuck people wear now. Like, Axe is just, I don't know. Like, what? Maybe it's the nostalgia.
Yeah. For me,
Maybe that's it.
it doesn't work because of the nostalgia for me, because my brother just all over.
Oh, see, yeah.
Like the
I didn't have any stinky brothers or anything.
so I just associate it with my younger brother.
Makes sense.
But back to Charlotte. Yeah, no, I think that this is really interesting foreshadowing for a future relationship that she enters. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. If you don't,
And
we'll find out.
So, and this introduces an interesting avenue of secret sex, which is dating outside your religion. You know,
Yeah.
big deal for some people. Like, I know, like,
Yeah.
particular, like the Jehovah Witness community, you can be exiled from your family. Like, they
Absolutely.
will not speak to you, and you know that's a huge risk that you could be taking for sex, or if it's more than sex, or however it is.
Right.
But that's an interesting avenue of secret sex. It's not because you're ashamed of them, it's because you can't, because of
You can't, like,
religion. So it's
yeah.
different reasons for having secret sex. You know, and then at the end of the scene when Charlotte's like done telling her, she's like, and don't put this in your column, Carrie. And then the next scene, like, she's not even finished saying that. The next scene is Carrie typing in her computer. And I'm just here like, put it in the column, didn't she? Because that's
Probably.
about it, yeah. Because
Well, it's a great story.
it is, but when you're told not.
Yeah, we didn't even say, like, they hooked up. They hooked up,
yeah,
like,
yeah, they hooked up. Sorry,
they fucked, like, on the counter and shit.
The pheromones worked. It happened, and it happened a few times. Like, they kind of asked her about it, and she's like, "Well, like, we hooked up a few times, and like for like, it wasn't like a crazy amount of time, and they would just have sex and talk about religion, which is really cool."
Is this the line where she's like, daddy's little Episcopalian princess? Is that, yeah, like all wrapped up in the arms of
people.
Of what? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Daddy's little Episcopalian princess in the arms or hands of one of God's chosen people.
Yeah, that's it. I love that line. Love that line. Like, how hilarious.
And
yeah, that's exactly what it was, though, to them.
And then, as Carrie's typing in her computer, she asks the question, was secret sex the ultimate form of intimacy since it just existed in a pure state, exempt from judgment of the world? Or is it just another way in which we deny our feelings and emotionally compartmentalize ourselves in our lives?
It's a big one. That's like a thicker question from her.
Yeah.
For sure.
So is it the ultimate, like, is that pure love in its truest form because it's without any...
The secrecy aspect? Because there's no outside influence?
Yes.
Because there's no variables there?
Yeah. And then,
I think that's weird.
Yeah. But even in...
I think that's weird.
Aspect where, or like other concepts where it's like, or not concepts, but like situations where it is out of their hands, like they just can't help it. It's not like they're ashamed, it's just like they can't.
Yeah. That's a different scenario, though. That's different when it's something like that, or when it's something like, okay, there's no repercussions here. Why aren't we like...
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's funny, though, is like back then, I mean, they talk about it back then, but I feel like now it's way more prevalent. I feel like with situationships and the of all of this going on right now, I feel like that's just like almost like a standard norm for people of like, obviously, like maybe your close-knit friend group like knows who you're with or whatever, but like the outside world will never know. You wouldn't, like, I have so many friends too, like online and stuff, where like I'll like catch up with them and they're like, yeah, I'm seeing someone. I'm like, I didn't even know you were like in a relationship. Like you would not be able to tell by like social media or whatever. And like that's fine too. I get that, like being private on social media, but I feel like a lot of people are more hesitant to post things and talk about things more like now more so than like ever.
And
And like
that's a really good point because like that wasn't even a factor in secret sex back then, but that's like
right, is like online
everything.
presence
Yeah,
about it too.
everything now. Yeah. It, wow. Yeah.
I've heard that from, I've actually recently saw a TikTok about it where they're asking a guy, they're like, okay, I'm gonna ask you like woman to man, if your boyfriend doesn't post you online, does that mean he's like ashamed of you? And immediately he was like, yes. He's like, men like to show off the women that they're like proud of. Like they're like, this is my girl, like look. They're like, and he's like, the only exception is if like they're not a social media person like at all. Like they post like once a every 2 years or something. They're like, then maybe. He's like, but if like someone's actively on social media and a guy's just is like has not posted his girlfriend of 2 years, he's like, yeah, no, he doesn't fucking either like her or he's embarrassed. And I was like, holy God, like what is the world coming to?
You know, it it's definitely breaking down certain barriers on things. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very interesting.
yeah. Uh, it's interesting how certain things in here have evolved just solely because of technology. Um,
Exactly. I feel like that's like I think that's the separating factor,
yeah,
honestly. I feel like if we didn't have what we do now with social media, and more so like social media, like I feel like even when we just had cell phones, like that was fine. But it's when we like implemented the internet on those phones and like utilized it and then had applications, that's when things started getting really tricky.
yeah. I remember 2010s being more like technology optional. Like it was
Oh,
it's
yeah.
becoming more and more like I'm sorry, less and less optional. Um, but like now I just don't feel like you have the option. You have to have that kind of presence in order to be any kind of like successful, like in a lot of industries at least. But
Yeah.
anyways, um, so back to the whole technology thing. Um, you know, there's no caller ID. So Carrie's at her apartment. She answers the phone, and all she hears on the other end is a man saying, "Do you miss me yet?" Which, you know, as a woman who's just like dating in New York City at the time, I think for a second that could have been like a few guys. Like that's how I took it.
Do not know his voice at this point.
Okay, but like it was their first date and
They okay, I understand this was their first official date, but they have hung out and seen and talked to each other so many fucking times. We are in episode 6.
like he wasn't
Okay.
in two of them though. Um
Okay, he wasn't in 2 of them, but like I've met someone one time and I can still hear their voice in my head, okay?
like you don't think it's a little bit different when you're hearing it from a phone? Like
No.
with no
I can easily
context?
pick it up.
Okay. Well, she figures it out really quickly. Just, you know.
Duh.
uh
Who the fuck else is it going to be, Carrie? Who's it? Stanford?
leaves
Yeah,
for
exactly. Tell me you can't hear the difference between Stanford's voice and Big's voice.
leaves Stan
Anyway.
out of this. Okay, but basically she realizes like she did not fuck everything up by having sex with him on the first date. He's like there
Hmm.
asking her out and he even says like I want to go out with you the old fashioned way, dinner and a movie. You know, which is cute and he's like even though we might skip the movie and she's like as long as we don't skip dinner. Um
Yeah.
So next scene is Carrie and Big just like walking up and down the street. And she invites him to her oh my goodness, I skipped a part. So earlier, Samantha suggested having a little party to
Oh.
celebrate Carrie having
The ad
bus
on the
reveal.
bus.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so they decide that they're gonna go to one of the bus stops and wait for it to pass by. So
Right.
that is what I. So back to this scene. She invites Mr. Big to that event. So
Right.
uh, he before he's able to answer whether or not he can go to that event, he runs into somebody that he knows. So this man walks up to Mr. Big and shakes his hand and is like, "Hey, like, how's it going?" And Mr. Big is like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And the man introduces his wife, and she talks to Mr. Big, but Mr. Big never introduces Carrie. And there's that again, that like awkward pause of like, are you gonna introduce me to this?
It's the parallel, like what happened with Mike and Libby.
Yeah. And the same pause happens, like just like with Libby, where it's like, are you gonna introduce me? But he
Yeah.
doesn't introduce her, and
Right.
the guy just walks off with his wife and they leave, and Carrie's kind of left like, oh, I think I'm the secret woman in this relationship. And
Yeah.
um you know,
If she wasn't doubting it before, she definitely is now.
yeah, yeah. And they, for the date that he suggested, they go back to Fenwa, the same place
Yeah.
they went before. And she looks around and she realizes that everyone is there on a date with somebody that they look like they could be ashamed with it, that they're hiding. Like, they even show this one, like, Anna Nicole Smith looking lady with her, like 107-year-old husband.
I feel like that can just be Carrie projecting
And yeah,
more, though,
like,
too. I feel like that's dramatic. That's saying, she's like, everyone here this is the sole reason for this restaurant.
yeah,
Like, fuck out of here.
yeah.
You're in your head.
So, speaking of being in her head, the next day she calls Mike and asks him why he took Libby to Fenwa. And he's basically, oh no, he literally says it's obscure and there's not much of a chance that I would run into someone that I know. And so she finishes it for him and is like, so you would take somebody you're ashamed to be seen with there. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's perfect for that. And in the same breath starts laughing because he's like, oh shit, sorry.
He's
He
like,
really
oh, fuck.
ran into her on her
That's
date.
right.
So he's like, yeah, it's perfect for that. And I had a little note here where I was like, it's an interesting thought of how do you date someone's secret in a place as small as Venice?
Um, I don't know. I feel like maybe just like certain spots were popular, and I think maybe that's why it's like, okay, you run into someone because something's coming up here, and we have to remember this was like New York back then. Obviously it was developed, it's a huge city, but like there wasn't probably as much stuff as there is now. I'm sure it's like crazy now, but like it's like, oh, this is uptown, oh, this is here, like there's little hubs, and like you probably have a good chance of running into someone in one of the hubs,
Okay.
like of nightlife or dinner, or like, oh, a new restaurant came up, of course everyone's gonna flock to the new restaurant kind of thing. I feel like it's kind of one of those
I
things.
could see that. Oh,
Yeah.
and then back to Miranda and Ted from like a million years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Kickboxing guy.
so Miranda obviously has slept with him. She's in his bed and he's leaving for a 6 a.m. flight for his job, and he just tells her, like, you just go ahead and sleep, don't even worry, like, just stay.
Let yourself out.
And
Yeah.
side note, I think Ted's apartment is like one of the best of the entire series. Like,
It reminds me of the apartment from Wayne's World. I don't know if you've ever seen Wayne's World, but it's like, oh, it's very, very open, like,
yeah,
what's that word I'm thinking of? Concept, like open concept, like things laid out. Like I like an open concept when it comes to things like that.
you
So
too.
yeah, very cool.
Not only is it that like cool inside, but remember it has that view of the Natural Museum. So like,
Oh yeah. So it's a
so
good
cool,
dude. Anything with a good view is it's just
perfect.
chef's kiss. I have to have a view. If it's a cityscape, Absolutely. I am a slut for cityscapes. Always.
Let's take a moment here and let me ask you something. This isn't just for you,
Okay.
but in the audience. Like, if you're in this situation and you're in, like, you just had sex with somebody, you don't know them very well yet, you're just getting to know them, they leave you in their apartment. Do you snoop?
Absolutely.
Do you snoop?
It's free game. It's free game. Okay, I don't like go crazy, but I'm not a fucking liar, okay?
Yeah.
I've done it. And it's never like I'm not like going through like insanely, but I'm like, okay, if I'm like the closet's there, I'm like, well, let me see it like
Okay,
you just
but like the
know,
closet is one.
what's going on in there.
Maybe like you want to see what kind of clothes they have.
Or the bathroom. I definitely peep a bathroom. Like I want to see
If someone else here.
One, I want to see if a woman lives there because you can tell easily what by what products are there, what's left behind, and women got smart and started leaving shit that we know like someone's cooked here.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of look for those things. It's been a while since I've had to do something like this. I've it's been a very long while before I've even like cared about shit like this too. But when I did, I absolutely did some snooping in my day with guys who had apartments. And that's rare too. So when a guy had an apartment who lived by himself and like he had to leave, I'm like rare occurrence, okay? At least in my past.
I never did because I was always like, I'm not here trying to hurt my own feelings. Like,
and I was very much in the business of hurting my own feelings.
but I digress. She snoops and she finds a
She does.
VHS tape of pornography. OG.
They're still out there.
Yeah.
People still buy them.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So she takes it to Carrie's to go watch it with Carrie. And it's a pornography.
It's a.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say what kind it was.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a spanking porno. So like that's the fetish. It's like women specifically spanking men. That's I don't what was the title? Did you write down the title?
Oh, I didn't.
There had to be a title on there. Damn it, I didn't write it down either.
We'll bring it up.
It's okay. Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll try and find a still of it.
But so Miranda, they're watching it together, Carrie and Miranda, the spanking. And, you know, Miranda is worried, like, that that's what he actually wants in bed. And Carrie brings up a really good point that they kind of like glaze over, but I think is really a valid point. It's like, maybe it's just his fantasy life. So.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's completely valid and totally reasonable to have interest in watching pornography of acts that you yourself would not partake in.
100%.
Like,
I really think there's something to that. I think just because you're in a relationship or a marriage doesn't mean you're going to automatically want to act out each other's fantasies, whether maybe it's like you're not comfortable doing that with someone else or just you're not even comfortable sharing it out loud with someone else or whatever the reason is. I feel like everyone has something maybe that they hide or maybe. But I think that's fine. I think you can hold those things.
Like, kind of bouncing off what you said, but like maybe it's not something that they hide necessarily, but that they're just like private about. And I feel like
Yeah.
in a way, it's just like this just isn't for other people. I'm not.
Yeah, because when I watch porn, I don't want to watch it with whoever I'm with. I'm like, this is my time. This is my me time.
And
I don't need it to be you time. We have you time and me and you time, and that's over there, you know, but this is my me time to explore the great beyond.
And it's maintaining a sexual relationship with yourself.
That's the biggest thing too.
Personally, granted, like there are people who feel as though pornography is cheating. I don't
That's a
share that feeling, but I personally, above all, believe that if your partner is not comfortable with something, that's the end of the day. Like that is what it is. Like that's the person
yeah.
to be with. You need to respect their boundaries. If they feel like
That is a
that's cheating to them.
That's a big conversation with women nowadays. I've met a lot of women who consider porn cheating.
Yeah,
I don't like you, I don't agree with that.
for
But
myself.
the difference is I watch pornography myself
Yeah,
also. So I don't know if these women, I have actually, you know what, come to think of it, it's never been like someone I've talked direct. No, I think I have. I just can't remember the response because I most likely asked them, well, do you watch it? And they probably said no, because then I would have easily clapped back and been like, okay, so you can watch it, but they can't? Horse shit, you know? But I think some women maybe don't, and maybe they're not comfortable with that, or I don't know. I don't know. You know,
if
to each
y'all
their own.
wanna,
If you masturbate, if you don't, that's the dynamic that you have with yourself. I feel like that does play a part though in your sex life.
and if y'all want to tell us in the comments or like DM us and like talk to us about that,
Yeah.
we would love to hear your perspective on that. Because like just because like we share the same kind of like perspective on it doesn't mean we're not open to hearing
Hmm.
what y'all have to say. Because like
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
would be interesting to hear. Because like I don't get it personally, but I'm open to trying to understand.
Yeah. And I'm always genuinely
Yeah.
curious. Like, I'm never coming at a judgmental angle. It's never like, ew, that's not the right way to
Ew.
do things. It's just like, well, why do you feel that? I'm really curious as to why, what's going on. Is this something like maybe you're like uncomfortable with, or is just something that you're just flat out, this is what I believe, like I'm always just really curious to know.
Yeah.
It's just curiosity killed the cat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm
We just
nosy.
want to know why.
I'm being nosy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So back to the episode. Um, bus advertisement reveal party. It's really cute.
Oh yeah.
We have Samantha, Charlotte, and Carrie at the bus stop with like they have a bottle of champagne. Everybody has a cup
Mm-hmm.
and
A glass.
party.
Aren't they wearing little hats?
Yeah,
They're wearing party hats.
ones that you wear at like kids' birthday parties. Um, and it's just really cute. And oh my goodness, another detail I forgot earlier. Big said he could not go to this event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was like, yeah, no, I got something else,
yeah.
I think.
He didn't say what. He just said like no, he can't go.
Yeah.
So they ask like where Big is, and he's just or Carrie's just kind of like, well, he's not coming. And Charlotte is like kind of passive aggressive in this scene. She's like, oh well, I told you shouldn't have. Never mind. And I'm like, shut up, bitch. Like, come on.
Girl,
And she brings it
please.
up like, well, if you hadn't slept with him, he would be here. Kind of bullshit. And
Which is such horse shit.
it really is.
That's
That's not good friend energy. Um,
bullshit.
little funny, tiny little, probably insignificant detail I noticed. Mike shows up, like, because Carrie invited Mike to the party. And right behind him goes a Bed Bath and Beyond bus, like on the advertising.
I love
Yeah.
when stuff like that happens in the
That
show.
was so cute. I was like,
I can only think of one other time that happens, and it's later on in the series, but that's so cool.
yeah,
I'm glad you caught that.
very cool. And the first thing Carrie's like, where's Libby? I told you to invite her. And he says that she left him for someone who didn't share his problems with intimacy. And I'm like, you go, girl. I hope he treated her.
You know what I love about that they alluded to that, because it really shows I say this phrase frequently to women who are talking to me about what they're going through, I guess with something that's struggling as far as their relationship. I always say, don't let your boyfriend keep you from finding your husband. It's, and not in like that the literal sense of like cheating or whatever, but it's like, if there's someone you're dating and you're just not feeling it, or there's no progression, or you're constantly asking someone, like you're constantly questioning yourself, you're constantly questioning them. No. When you meet someone, like, You know, people who want to be in each other's lives, no, they make it heard, they make it apparent, they make you feel seen, and vice versa. Um, that's just what I say. It's like there, you need that level of certainty, and vice versa. That's it. And so the fact that like I can tell like Libby probably went on to like marry this man, and it was probably like everything she ever was waiting for. She was probably like, I was dicking around with this loser for so long, and I you know, like he didn't even appreciate me, and I was nothing but a sweetheart to him. And then she probably was like, she probably met this guy like at a Bed Bath and Beyond, and was like, probably in my head, like I'd like to think that's where they met, like buying sheets together.
No, you know what? What if he's a butcher? And they have a meat and
Oh,
cheese, like kind of like charcuterie board business. That's my
I'm gonna
for
cry.
her. Oh my god, because she literally said she wanted to have a cheese shop. And
I'm gonna
we love
cry, and I'm also hungry now.
Libby. She deserves the best.
Justice for
Justice
Libby.
for Libby. I feel Libby on a spiritual level. I was dicked around a lot by some dudes and stuff here and there. Um, my husband has made me feel like so loved infinitely and for everything authentic about myself, and everyone deserves that. You know, like you
Absolutely.
deserve to feel like you are somebody's number one in a relationship, and you shouldn't settle for anything less than that. Like
I agree.
there's nothing like that.
I feel like it is nowadays harder to come to that. I do think
Oh,
it's
I
more of like a dime
totally
a dozen. But when it's seen, it's beautiful to experience. I like just getting to be on like the subset of you guys. Like I get to watch this beautiful love take place and see it happen, and it's very nice knowing that it exists even though it might not exist for me. I get to watch it, and I think that that's really cool, and it's really cool that people get to experience it, and like it's just nice. It's just nice seeing it. Like what did he post the other day? He posted a song. It was like My Dream Girl, and he tagged you in it. Like, dog, Alexander,
I
just
like appreciation moment for Alexander. Uh
absolutely.
love him. Love you, babe. Actually, we don't call each other babe. I love you. Uh
I'm gonna
I know.
cry.
Like I didn't even like that. Anyways,
That's really cute though. You should.
uh,
You should.
justice for Libby. All the people out there who've ever felt like a Libby, hold out for somebody who makes you feel like they're number one. Just
100%.
yeah.
Oh, real quick.
Oh
I found the VHS.
my god. It's called Spank. To the point. To the point.
It's called Spank. No, it's called
What?
Spanked Therapy. It's Spanked Therapy.
Oh, does it say? Oh, wow. Okay.
It's in the green letters.
I love that.
There's no full nudity in that, so we can't get striked. So, but yeah, I had to look it up. I had to.
Man. Okay, so back to the scene. Libby's not there. She found someone who doesn't have his problem with intimacy. And then, as they're kind of wrapping up that conversation, Carrie's bus comes by, and lo and behold, somebody spray painted a freaking dick next to her face on the bus advertisement.
What were you gonna expect in New York, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's like a rite of passage if you get to that point
Yeah.
where you're on an advertisement. I would be if I had a billboard and someone didn't put a fucking dick on me, I'd be offended. Or like slut, or like someone put my mustache on me, or I was about to say glasses. I already wear glasses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you gotta fuck with the advertisement.
I love that.
Yeah.
But she's just like horrified and probably thankful that Mr. Big didn't end up going.
Yeah.
So we go back over to Miranda and Ted, and they're walking home after a date, and they're kind of talking about their relationship and like how it's like going really well so far. And he mentions, I guess I just needed a good kick to the head. And Miranda with this like freaking smirk on her.
Oh,
And here I thought all you needed was a good spanking. He looks at her
mortified.
and in this moment you see him looking at her realizing I let you stay in my apartment and you looked through my things. That that VHS tape was like inside an underwear drawer underneath the clothing, hidden.
Or so that he was just upset that like she brought it up.
That too. But like
I think that's what it was.
I think so. Like it was like just about the like because I was here like she not only found out about my sex kink, she was looking through my things.
I feel like that's a given if you leave someone alone.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm like if I leave someone alone, I'm like they're gonna tear through my shit. Like I'm like you're gonna find something.
Yeah,
So
I could see that.
that's me though. That's me though.
Yeah.
I'm like I fair game.
But he just looks at her horrified and just like, excuse me.
Absolutely mortified.
And she's
Yeah.
like, you heard me. And like, where did she think this was gonna go?
I think she just thought like, oh, cool. I found it. Let's.
Like,
I'm cool with this. Let's add it into the routine. And he just not game at all. And I've been there. I've actually I understand, not like that exact thing, but I've like heard after like relationships like what my partner was into, and I was like, why wouldn't you tell me this? Like, like what makes you think like why aren't you comfortable with that, of all people in the world, me to not want to do these things with? And that's what we bring up,
but
just for whatever reason,
I mean,
they just weren't comfortable with it.
It kind of goes back to the whole like, sexuality relationship with yourself. Like maybe this is just what gets him off, and he in that sense, and that's why it's private and not a part of his relationship. It's just something he likes to watch and like think about.
Yeah.
And maybe like once he got comfortable with her, like then
he would
but like
I could see that.
I don't. It kind of seems like they only knew each other for a few weeks.
Yeah, so I can see why that's not. But like my experience was not that. It was a couple years. So I was like, why was this not discussed? Because I would have been maybe game.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I know, the rain's making me sneeze.
Oh yeah.
So he cuts off all communication with her, and she never sees him again.
He ghosts that bitch immediately.
He that bitch before ghosting was ghosting.
Exactly.
And then next scene pans over. We have a drunken Carrie marching up to Mr. Big's apartment. And he opens the door and she says, I just came here to tell you that if you're embarrassed or ashamed to be involved with me in any way, that we can no longer see each other. And as she...
Isn't she plastered?
Yeah, she's plastered.
She's fucked up. Like she's drunk.
Like slurring a little bit. And as she finishes saying that we can no longer see each other anymore, she pushes past him and walks into his apartment and goes to his bar.
Dude, how fucking embarrassing.
I am all for...
But honestly, been there.
I feel that. But I'm all for communicating your feelings, but like, bro, try to...
But not like that.
Better than that. Come on.
Honestly, though, to be fair, we were just talking about this before we started filming. Like, when you drink, sometimes it can it obviously, lets you feel comfortable, and that's when your emotions come out. So, like, if you're uncomfortable to talk about something, because this, not exactly what happened with me, but this was, like, within the past, like, 2 years, I got really fucking toasty somewhere, and I was upset that the guy I was wanting to be with, like, didn't really want to be with me, and he kind of just, like, left me hanging. And then I was like, I'm gonna go over and I'm going to tell you about it. And it worked. We ended up dating for like almost a year. But I came and I was like, and you did this, and that was fucked up, dude. So what the hell? Blech.
That's amazing.
We dated
for like a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she just like she goes off. Like she really lets him have it here, dude. Like
Yeah.
like goes off. You won't introduce me to your friends. You take me to that particular restaurant where men take women they don't want to be seen with. You won't come out and meet my friends. You have me in a niche. Certain events, certain restaurants, certain people. Like I am only a particular fragment of the kind of person you think you should be dating. That hit hard with
Oof.
me. That was
Yeah.
fine. You think I am only a particular fragment of the person that you feel like you should be dating.
Yeah, that's rough.
That
That's real rough.
is a very accurate description to a very specific circumstance that I feel like a lot of people have been in.
Been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because not everyone's going to be a fucking match. You're not going to meet every person you date isn't going to be perfect for you. And someone's always going to lack something that you want and vice versa.
Yeah.
But it's sitting with it or like working on it, is what the difference is there, or just coming to the agreement of like, hey, we just don't work out.
Yeah.
And
then his response, I've only gotten to know a particular fragment of you, but I'm beginning to know more. Referring to this like drunken mess that just like threw herself in.
It's true.
Because you think
it's true.
Big, he comes from the world of finance in New York City. Like the kind of events and situations that he's in and the people that he's around are very much like image focused and like very much
absolutely
like scarily well put together like kind of people, and for her to just kind of be a mess like this in front of him, sure,
again, patchouli in a room full of Chanel.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is very jarring. And reaction to that, or her response is really funny. She says, "This isn't me. This is me reacting to your perception of me."
Isn't that fucking crazy though? To live so hung up in you are obviously so hung up in how this guy sees you rather than you just being yourself. And if he don't like it, he can hit the fucking door. Like, you're literally over here actually saying how you feel. Like, no, like, this is how you perceive me. Why the fuck?
Also,
bitch, because that's what you're concerned about.
Also, she's kind of blaming her actions on him right now in that, too. At least that's how I feel.
Yes!
She's saying, I wouldn't be acting like this if you weren't acting like that.
Yes! It's very, like, victim complex. It's very, like, rather than just admitting, like, that's the craziest part is, like, bitch, why can't you just admit, like, okay, maybe he don't like me that much. Maybe I should just, like, not hang out with him again.
Yeah.
She's like, has to make it work.
Yeah.
But
she, like,
been there.
Yeah. Like,
but not at the fucking ripe age of 32. Honestly, no judgment. You never fucking know where you're gonna be.
She didn't have Sex in the City to learn the lessons from someone else. She was
No, she was the forefront. So
we'll get.
You gotta give her some grace. Unfortunately,
did the research for us, so we don't have to act like this later.
I did my own research though, on top of knowing the show. So fuck me, right?
So he kind of, after hearing that this is his fault, basically, he is like, well, Feng Hua is my favorite Chinese restaurant in the city. And the couple that we saw on the street, I met them once years ago. I didn't remember their names, which is why I couldn't introduce you. Like,
right.
Just gonna be like, this is Carrie. Like,
whoever.
Yeah. You can't just, introduce you if you don't know someone's name. And then he didn't go to the bus advertisement party because he had tickets to a game, like courtside tickets to a game.
Yeah, like great tickets.
Like really expensive tickets.
And then she does the most stupid fucking bullshit. Doesn't she just like sink into him?
No, kind of, yeah, almost. Like she says something first.
Okay.
She says,
oh,
because he basically like put a pacifier in her mouth, and like she's like there realizing I have nothing left to grip onto, but he's into me. He just, you know, so she just kind of looks at him. She's like, so you and me, maybe this is for real.
Oh my god, dude.
I cringe.
If I ever fucking say that, please,
I'm gonna hit you.
Hit me.
Yeah.
Yes, never again will I ever be like, so like, what are we? What do you mean? Oh no. Get lost, homie. If this is too much or not enough, this is the door, bitch. I'm chronically online. I only talk in TikToks.
Just after she says that, he doesn't even respond to her. He just carries her to the bedroom and they have sex.
Oh yeah. What the fuck? You know what? Again, been there. Get it. But like, the fuck?
And the episode. Secrets.
That's the episode.
So yeah.
Quite fascinating.
We kind of definitely discussed quite a few types of secret sex.
Yeah.
If y'all have any other examples, we would love to hear it.
Absolutely.
You know, or any.
If you have a funny story that you're comfortable to share, or like you can even say like anonymously, or this happened to a friend. Like, I don't give a fuck. Say it.
Yeah.
We would love to hear it or talk about it, or if you're so willing, you know, but I think we come up, you know, like we've said before, we come here and we share our views and opinions, and if it compels you to say something, let's go for it. If not, if you just enjoy listening to our wild crazy banter, thank you. But we love the interaction any kind we do get. So it's just great. It's great getting to talk about this openly, and if it for any reason you feel the urge to be more open and talk more open about sex or relationships or whatever, game on. Let's do it.
Join the dialogue, dude. We would love to hear.
Join the dialogue. Yeah, absolutely. So I can't believe we're now officially halfway done with season 1.
Why?
It's actually very like, I know. So I was looking through the rest of the series too. Season 1, I think, has one of the shortest episode list. So we only have 12 episodes this season, but I think the next couple are 18.
Yeah.
Per season. So yeah, it's a shorter one.
5 because Carrie or Sarah Jessica Parker was like pregnant.
Yeah, one of them is real short. But yeah, so it's just, here we are. We're halfway through the first season. It's awesome. We get to keep going, and like we said, we talk about things just more and more. It's just going to keep building up, and different topics, and you know, things might get more crazy on top of how they've already have been. We talked about anal. We talked about prostitution. What more can there be? I promise you a lot. So strap in. We got a lot to talk about.
Strap in.
Strap in. That was like on purpose. It wasn't, but it sounded like it was. But again, thank you guys so much for all the support. It's been really cool. Just really cool seeing it all, and continuing to do this, and we're going to keep doing it whether you guys like it or not. So, but again, yes, thank you so much for everything. Next, do we know the episode for next
episode 7 season 1?
Is the non-monogamous? Is that the title? Oh, the non-monogamous. Yeah, the monogamous is
no, just monogamous. The monogamous.
Well, we're gonna Freudian slips, but Yeah, so that's next week we'll be doing season 1 episode 7. So get ready for that. But anything else you got to say before we end this one?
Just more happy Pride Month. We love.
Oh yeah, still Pride, still very much Pride. We got a couple more days
Yeah.
left, so
So I think that is all.
yeah.
Oh,
Thank you guys so much. We love and appreciate all of you.
yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. And remember, know your worth. Don't accept anything less than someone who's like loves you. So.
And we'll be here to remind you if
Oh
you
yeah.
need that. If you need someone to
We
come,
will remind you because you
I will come scream in your face.
was giving Libby. So.
Word.
On that note, peace out, homies. We love y'all.
Bye, guys.
We'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.